I recorded an entire podcast lambasting the Democratic Party a couple days after the election, and then I watched it back and I was like, cannot put this out. Cannot put this out. I'm very grateful that I am able to say, digital footprint. You do not need to say everything online. I took a second, cleared my thoughts, and now we can talk about it. If this is your first time seeing me, hello, my name is Horace Gold. I am an actor, a musician, not a political pundit, okay? I am on the internet. I'm around, and I am not going to be talking about politics as much after this very episode, simply because I want to be a happy person in my life, okay? I need a certain level of joy that talking about legislative politics does not bring me. It is not my tooth fairy of joy, leaving me a little morsel of optimism underneath my bed. It makes me want to die. So this is my farewell to the 2024 election season, and we just need to talk it down, a little exit interview, if you will. A large majority of the attention that I've received online in the last couple of months has been around political content, and I'm aware of that, and I'm grateful for that. But I was talking about the culture. I was talking about what's going on in the world. I was not submitting my hat to work on Capitol Hill and Washington Declaration of Columbus, okay? I do not want to talk about foreign policy all the ding-dong day. I want to talk about films I'm in. I want to talk about music I make. I want to talk about being gay. I want to talk about books. I want to talk about anything besides politics. I'm bored. I'm exhausted. And if you're on TikTok right now, you know that the astrology girlies are like, it's not over. November 15th, which is tomorrow at the time I'm recording this. So we'll see if Kamala Harris comes through and somehow becomes the president. I would love that. I literally worked not with her campaign, but I worked creating content for her campaign in Philadelphia. I went on my first brand trip as a content creator, and it was amazing. And it felt so cool to be able to participate. And like I said in the last episode, it feels like sometimes politics happens to us. So it was really empowering for me to feel like I was like, hey, I actually want to speak on this and I get to. And that was amazing. So thank you for being here and supporting my work, because it allows me to go and have these amazing opportunities. And I'm so excited for what's to come in the future, not just around politics, because there's more to me and there's more to life. There's more to humanity than just legislative politics. And it doesn't feel like that as of late because it's so existential and because it is so world defining. But we must cling to joy in times like these, and we must create joy. And for me as a content creator, it's really important that that's what I'm putting out into the world. It is my personal thesis to never leave my audience feeling more anxious than they were when they found me. And that's why I feel like I want to veer a little bit and just get back to life, because this access to democracy, that window has shut for now. For the next 2 years until we gear up for the midterm elections, we need to sort of heal and be like, how do we sustain ourselves through a Republican Senate, House, Oval Office, Supreme Court? It's a lot, girl. It's a lot. There's a lot going on. And so we got to find joy. But I don't want to leave anyone high and dry. And I want to follow up my last podcast episode and really talk about what to freaking do. So for those of us who have MAGA people in our families and our friend groups, we have to have a chat. We need to discuss what to do moving forward, because it's hard. It's scary. Trust me, I know better than most what it's like to be disappointed by the people around you voting against your life. And I think when it comes to family, I talked about this in my MAGA Bomb series, that you don't have much of a choice when it comes to family, because like it or not, that is your family. And I think that as human beings, the need for a familial unit is so important, and it is so integral. And this is where we get to practice some compartmentalization. And I do believe that there will be people who are like, no, I'm not going to. That's totally fine. You are allowed to cut your family off if you don't like the way that they voted. If you are attacked by their vote, you are allowed to be like, no, I'm out. And that's well within your right. No notes, do what you have to do. For those of us who don't want to do that, for those of us who are scared to do that, I want to offer some tips. Again, I've made a video about this, but I don't want to be like, go watch my other podcast. I'm just going to say it here. I had a very humbled influencer moment this week where I was on Bria Jones's podcast, and I have followed Bria Jones for a long time, and I was very honored to go and break bread and share space and time and energy with her. And we talked about this. She was like, how did you find this compassion? And I was like, I had a head start, girl. I was running before y'all were walking. My parents broke my heart a long time ago. And no shade, I love them. I've found a way to love them now, but I'm gay. So I grew up in a Republican Christian home as a gay child who everyone knew was gay before I did. So I was exposed to the disappointment of your parents not being the most supportive and the most affirming from a really young age. And the requisite amount of anger that I had a lot of access to earlier than a lot of people who I think are going through that now or have been going through that since 2016, right? So I feel like I can offer some tips. The first one being, stop going to your family for everything. I talked about this already in the Accepting My MAGA Mom video, but like there have been new subscribers and new followers, so I'll just say it again. We have to stop expecting every aspect of our personality to be affirmed by our parents. It's so hard to do that because we expect that the people who brought us into this world will affirm the rest of our lives, because it's like, literally wouldn't be here without you, babe. You hate me? Okay, for sure. However, what the fuck? What do you mean you don't want me to get married, bitch? Why'd you have a child? Why'd you have a child? I'll never understand that. If you weren't ready to accept your child in whatever format they come in, why did you breed? Thank God I'm gay, because I would judge my child. If my child was like a QAnoner, I'd be like, no, you're not mine. Goodbye. And now stand there with the wizard. I'd be so happy I could melt. Also, guys, I didn't realize until I was watching like a Wizard of Oz like YouTube like Miss Mojo video, that line in The Wizard and I is a reference to The Wizard of Oz. Did not know that until approximately 47 hours ago. And I was like, wait, you shut up. No, it's not. You shut up. No, it's not. What? Oh, shit. I might be stupid. Anyways, family. You can't choose them. So I have to be like, okay, girl, you're kooky, but like, see you at Thanksgiving. Friends, different stories. Someone left a comment on my TikTok being like, my best friend voted for Trump. Drop her. Cut her off. You don't have to be there. If you want to be, cool, accept it with full love and whatever you want. But if you don't want to be friends with Trump supporters, you don't owe anyone that. They voted against you. They voted against your rights, your communities. So you don't owe people that. My friends are my reprieve from Republican parents. I'm able to vent to my friends and be like, oh my God, my fucking mom, I love her, but like, oh my God, girl, what the fuck? Imagine you look around and you're like, oh wait, everyone in my life is actually completely opposed to the way I was born, the rights I want. Everyone hates me. How are you gonna feel safe? So I do think that when it comes to friends, like I would not advise anyone to like stay friends. And let's also like divest this from politics, right? Like let's use this in a different example. If you had a life-threatening disease, you were really triggered by people smoking and that really affected you, would you stay around people who wouldn't stop smoking around you? Would you continue to expose yourself to like definitively and immediately like harmful substances and people who are like, I love you so much, I will not change my behaviors, I will not consider that this could be different for your life? Would you stay? If your life depended on it, would you stay in immediate relationships with those people? I think the fuck not. I actually don't think you would. So apply that to politics now, because the vote goes the same way, right? And like, I'm sorry to any Trump supporters who might be watching this. I know some of y'all started following me on TikTok. Love y'all with an asterisk, and you're in a probationary period. Just want you to know that. I'm watching you closely. Y'all do not get it both ways. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. You do not get to tell me, hey babe, I actually don't care about you. But like, love you. No, you don't. You don't. And just own that. Just own that you don't actually vote with love for me. Why do I owe you what you won't give me? That seems non-reciprocal. You don't get, and I saw someone say this, Republicans are afraid to hang out with only other Republicans because they know that the left are funny. We're cool, bitch. We are the culture, and y'all don't want to live without the culture, but you want the rights to be taken away from the people who provide the culture. So get a therapist, figure that out, because I don't understand how you are so mixed up and want it both ways. You don't get it both ways. In a two-party system where we don't get to exist with as much nuance as we do in real life, you are your president's keeper. You are your elected official's keeper. You voted for this. That is a cosign for the morals of these people, right? And like what I will say as like an added on to that, and this was kind of what I got to in the episode I will never be releasing because I don't like what I said. I hold grace for people who don't support all aspects of the Republican or Democratic Party. For example, I voted for Kamala Harris, proudly campaigned for Kamala Harris, like really fought for her to get elected. A lot of people would be like, oh, well, you support genocide. And it's like, well, no, I support abortion rights and I support the $25,000 first-time home buyer. Like, no, I'm not like a fan of genocide. I'm not like going to the meet and greet. Like, that's not where my heart lies, but unfortunately it's like wrapped up into it. And the same thing goes for people on the right. I don't think that everyone who voted Trump is a Trump supporter. I don't think everyone who voted for Trump hates every queer Black person in the world, but that wasn't the top of your consciousness. That wasn't the top concern for you. So if there are people who are like, hey, you voted against my rights, if I'm a woman, right? You voted against my right to be able to get reproductive health care, and I don't feel safe with you anymore. That might not be where your heart lies, but that is actually the action you took. This is a perfect example of intention versus outcome are two separate things, but you're responsible for both. We're all responsible for both. I don't get to throw a rock at you and then be like, oh, well, I didn't mean for it to break your ankle. Like, I just threw the rock because it would be funny. You broke her ankle. You need to pay for the insurance. Like, it doesn't really matter if that was your intention. That's what happened. So you have to take responsibility because you did do that. You're not like this like complete innocent bystander who has like no responsibility in the equation. Like, you participated in a way that now has repercussions and consequences. So like, stand on it, own it. You did it. The next topic for conversation is the Democrats. I do think that we made some mistakes in this one. And I didn't see it until after. I didn't see it until like hindsight that I was like, oh, damn, we really did put Beyonce on stage to tell poor people that she knows what's best for them. Okay. Yeah, upon reflection, that's weird. Like, whoa, okay. I get that. We're like, girl, you could buy this room, like all of our net worth. You could own all of us. What are you talking about? What are you talking about, Beyonce? Beyonce Giselle Knowles Carter, I love you so much. Virgo's Groove is literally the reason why I thank God every day that I stayed alive to be able to hear that song. So I don't want this to at all come from any place of disrespect. However, you yourself say perfectionist, so right? Like, I just want to like follow your train of thought here for just a second. Again, I love you, Beyonce Giselle Knowles Carter, but you're a billionaire. You're a billionaire. I don't want to hear it from you, girl. I love you so much. I love you so much. But not your place. Not your place. And the Democratic Party putting billionaires up there does feel patronizing, right? And I realized in a video I made on TikTok last week, I'm talking really fast right now. I had a lot of coffee. Anyway, I was talking about this last week where I do feel, for me, I identify as a coastal elite. I never stepped foot in a public school. My parents are still together. All my siblings went to Ivy League, Harvard, Columbia. So I recognize my own privileges. While being Black and gay, I still am a privileged person, not wealthy, but I grew up around it, right? So like even that adjacent to wealth is a privilege in and of itself. My father was a cop, got out of every DUI that I rightfully should have gotten as a teenager because I was able to be like, well, my dad's a cop. Got out of it. So I know I'm privileged. And so for me, I'm having this realization that I'm like, oh shit, I thought I knew what was best for like middle America and the South and like the Sun Belt, places that we used to call the flyover states. Like, I think you're stupid. And I think that calling you stupid and me putting my like dick on the table being like, well, they have autonomy. They are full grown adults who can decide that like this Beyonce parade and this Taylor Swift cat picture is actually not enough. And we have to respect them enough to be like, hey, I patronized you. A lot of these people feel forgotten and a lot of these people feel excluded from the left. I've always said this, that Democrats are so rude in real life, but vote like they love you. And Republicans are like, hey, sugar, do you want to come over for a piece of sweet potato pie? And afterwards, we're going to go to the booth and vote so that you don't have rights nor autonomy over your body. Does that sound good to you? In Jesus' name, amen. Right? Like, Republicans are nicer. So for people who are not concerned with policy and are not like getting into NATO and trade and all of these like real things that are actually like going to be damaged because of a Donald Trump presidency, they're like, well, who's nicer to me? And unfortunately, that is a true demographic of the world. This like right-wing brew has been stirring for almost a decade now, right? Like, it was this pot of water that was like turning up, but no one really noticed it nor took it seriously. It was sort of just like, oh, look, they're just being boys. Oh, like incel. And then it's like, ooh, Andrew Tate turned the fire onto 10, and we haven't been able to put it out now. And now Donald Trump, Joe Rogan, Theo Vaughn, Dan Bilzerian, all these guys are coming together and have now turned this like pot of water into like an ocean, a hot ocean. That sounds like hell. That was not intended, but if the shoe fits. And now this lake of fire is on and we can't turn it off on the left. And we're like, wait, when did this happen? And it's like over time, slowly but surely this has happened. And every time we push these boys away, we push these like middle of the road, politically homeless people away from the left, they're welcomed into the right. The right, believe it or not, is a very inclusive party. The GOP, the Republican Party, the MAGA, any and all are welcome. And they're like, oh, come over here. You don't have to worry about that woke mob, that woke agenda. We're going to give you lower taxes. We're going to give you lower gas. That's not how it works. We're going to give you lower groceries. Again, not how it works. So come over to the right. You get this cool hat. You might even get richer because Donald Trump's the president. And you can be a little racist too if you want. You're safe here, right? Like, we don't make it sound really inviting on the left. On the left, it's like, if you make one mistake, you're canceled. You're done. And on top of all that, I'm calling your mother. Hey, Sharon, yeah, Tommy's got no future because he made a mistake at 16. And now, these docs, sorry, you should have known. And it's like, yes, absolutely, we should be encouraging people to speak with updated language and inclusive language. But also, we must do better at making the barrier to entry less volatile. It's new information. Not everyone always knew everything. And so when you learned something, did you get shamed into knowing it? I hope not. And I'm not saying that everyone owes everyone this like patty cake, like walk in the park experience. But if you want something from someone, i.e. the middle of the road, moderate, politically homeless people to join your side, do not shame them into joining our party, right? And I think that this gets into like a different conversation now. Again, this being based on the left, there's a difference between liberation and legislation. Someone reached out to me and was like, hey, I saw this video of this guy talking about how the conservative party is just an offshoot of white supremacy. What do you think of that when compared to like you saying that we need to work with Republicans or people who voted for Trump? I see both of your sides. What do you think? And I was like, he's right. I do think that there are absolutely racist, KKK, David Duke, like awful, racist, violent people on the right. 100%. Do I think every Trump voter is a Trump supporter? No. Do I think every white Trump voter secretly is like a KKK enthusiast? No. I think people are scared. I think people are we all live in an echo chamber. Mine is in LA. Some people are in Kansas, whatever it might be. We're all reflective of our communities, right? So I don't think that everyone is just like intrinsically bad because they voted for Trump. I don't think we owe them friendship, but we do owe them collaboration and cooperation because we need something from them and they need something from us. A lot of people are realizing that they voted for the wrong person and it's too late. But for the marginalized person who is seeking their liberation through legislation, I want to offer that there's actually like two different outcomes from that. Legislation is saying that Black kids can mix into school in the 1950s and 60s, right? Liberation is saying that even though it's not socially popular, but it's legal, that I'm going to persevere. I'm going to liberate myself from that. It was legal before it was acceptable. So we can't seek our normalization through the legislation. We have to be like, bitch, I don't fucking care. I'm going to do me. I'm going to live my life and socially liberate ourselves. And we can't only wait for that liberation to come from legislation because it's such a big pot. We need so many voices to get to like one experience and one conclusion, which is why there's so much compromise that has to happen with legislative politics. And so it's almost like legislative politics is always a watered down version of what's happening in the social sphere because there's just way too many cooks in the kitchen for like every single intricacy and every single identity to be like legislated upon. It has to be very basic of like, you can get married, you can go to school, you can go to whatever church you want. What happens underneath that, that's where liberation comes in, where it's like, I get to choose however that manifests for me socially. But I don't think that we need to be like waiting for every single part of our identities to be affirmed by the US government. I don't think that that's going to happen. And especially now that we're seeing that this administration wants to take away some of that legislation, we must stay liberated, even if we're legislated against. And so moving on, I think this is for everyone. Go outside. This sounds so gnarly. And I said this before in the last episode, but like we must take a second to appreciate how beautiful this world is because it feels so ugly and so heavy and so isolated and so exclusionary all around from either side. In the middle, wherever you lie, no one feels like totally 100% like included in every single part of community right now. I think everyone feels like that was a weird one. It was weird. I went to the flea market last week with my friends and it was just so nice, like walking around being like, oh yeah, the world. You are here. Okay. I'm not going to lie. I forgot about you. Forgot about the earth. Feels good. Did you guys know that it feels good outside? Damn. That's cool. And I think we get to scale it back a little bit right now. Within going outside, if we're going to engage in media, I think now is a great time to find some escapist media. I'm not saying don't pay attention to the news. We should all be informed. We should all keep up. There are amazing content creators that you can follow who are solely focused on politics. That is not me. I never started this to have a career in politics. I think for me, I am more of a translator and a communicator more than I am a like voice of this new political movement. I think I can translate it. I don't know that I am put here to be leading it. I'm trying to enjoy being young and being happy. And so I am making the concerted effort to consume more escapist and positive media as well as output. I want to put it out because I'm a content creator now. This is like becoming a really big part of my life. I do this thing now, which is really fucking cool. And so I feel an immense amount of responsibility to be like, how am I leaving y'all? What is the takeaway? The takeaway cannot be doom and gloom because personally speaking, I am a suicidal ass bitch. It takes a hop, skip, and a jump and I'm ready to die. And so I have to be particularly careful for my own sake to not inundate myself with this all the time because it doesn't doesn't take that much for me to be like, what is the point? What is actually the point? I can't go there. I need to find beauty. And there is beauty to find. It's there. And there's always been a crazy president. There's always been something bad happening in the world. There's always been a war. There's always been rights being fought about. It's always been like this with different manifestations and different iterations. But like on paper, it's always been fucked up since the Adam and Eve, girl. Since the original sin. That doesn't mean we get docile and complacent, but it means that we also just manage. We have to manage tragedy. We have to manage trauma. Unfortunately, that is just the name of the game. Being sentient human beings who have cell phones that are connected to the internet, we need to manage how much we take, and it cannot be an onslaught of continuous descent into misery. Otherwise, you're gonna die. So find the joy. And if there's other content creators listening to this, I'm saying this to myself, provide the joy. And for me, part of the joy is also providing nuance. I think so often in the internet space, we get into this like dichotomy. And I'm going to make a video about this a little bit more later on, but like we get into the space of like block, follow, like, hate, fan, hater. And that is just not real life. So we need to bring in a third, maybe fourth, maybe fifth option into some of these scenarios. And that's the role I want to assume and sort of be like, hey, how do I sit in a third option which validates both sides? Because that is real life. That is how the world turns offline. Everyone hangs out with someone who has an opposing opinion about something. Obviously, there's levels to this, right? Like, I'm not saying that, again, you have to like hang out with Trump supporters if they're drastic. You don't have to do anything, but you are interacting with these people. And so we need to find a way to make sense of it. And right now, I think we need to heal so deeply. We need to heal before this administration comes in. We need to be prepared to fight. We need to be prepared to take this information in, because there's been so much information. This election season has been fucking wild, dude. It's been crazy. So we have to like fucking chill, brother. We gotta chill out for a second. It's about to be Thanksgiving. We're about to go home and like talk with Trump supporters, some of us. So we need to practice now, like, how do I sustain myself in trying times? And a lot of that is like clinging to joy, clinging to optimism, clinging to the people who bring joy and optimism, clinging to the activities, the music, the media, the spaces, the outside, the climates that bring us joy and optimism. And obviously there's downsides to each of those departments that I just mentioned. Find the good parts. Make it a concerted effort to find the good parts. And I'm not saying toxic positive yourself out of this, but have a very real conversation of like, damn, yeah, the climate's getting hotter, but like, it's really nice outside today. Like, damn, I don't know how long I'm gonna have reproductive healthcare freedom, but in the meantime, I wanna have sex. Or whatever it may be. We have to find the joy because it's fleeting, and it seems like it's almost more impossible every single day to find the joy, which means it's even more of our responsibility to find it. It's our birthright to be happy. We are allowed to pursue that, even when the administration, the world tells us we shouldn't be. Don't let the media gaslight you into being miserable. Find joy. I needed to take last week off, but I'm happy to be back, and I will be on a regular schedule next week. I love you guys. Thank you for being here. So good to talk to you. Talk to you soon. Follow me on TikTok and Instagram, because I think I'm going to start doing some interactive stuff so I can get some like advice episodes going on. I am copying Emma Chamberlain 100%. So I'll see you guys around. XOXOXO. Mwah.